Hello friends, today I am going to talk about classical criticism. So let's begin today's lecture. First, I would like to discuss what do we mean by classical criticism. As you all know, literary theory is a set of principles used to judge a piece of artistic work. It could be a poetry, a drama, a novel, a short story, anything that is fiction. The term literary criticism is a modern term. However, literary theory existed as far back as 4th century BC. Earliest work of literary theory consists of Aristotle's Poetics and Plato's Republic. Earliest literary theorists were Plato and Aristotle in Greece and Horace and Longinus in Rome. Plato and Aristotle and Horace and Longinus. These form the core of classical criticism. An introduction to Plato and Aristotle. In ancient times in Greece, young men were trained under two main schools. First is philosophy, second is rhetoric. The rhetoricians studied poesis. It's poesis which is now termed as literary theory or criticism. Now we will talk about Plato's main ideas or Plato's literary theory, or you can say Plato's view on literature, or in particular on poetry. So first, what Plato believed is that Plato believed in an ideal state. For Plato, objects are nothing but imitation of the ideal state. Only the ideal state is real, rest all is imitation and is away from reality. So, a carpenter making a chair is imitating the ideal state. A painter drawing and painting a picture of the chair is imitating the already imitated state, and hence, while the carpenter is twice removed from reality, a painter is considered to be thrice removed from reality. Likewise, poetry, according to Plato, is an imitation of an imitation, and hence the poet is considered to be thrice removed from reality, and his poetry is of inferior state. So that was Plato's ideas about poetry. Plato thought that poets are madmen, and if poets are allowed to roam freely in the state would no longer survive. So these were Plato's main ideas about poetry. Now we will talk about Aristotle's main ideas. Aristotle also believed in the act of mimesis, that is imitation, and he is the pupil of Plato, but he differ from his teacher in certain aspects. First, he said that though mimesis is an imitation, but the creation of art is a natural healthy impulse. Not all poetries are judged by the same standards. Aristotle classified poetry into different genres like epic, tragedy, and comedy. According to Aristotle, tragedy is of higher standard. Aristotle gave preference to tragedy, while he thought comedy is of lower standard. Tragedy should always have unity of action, time, and place. Aristotle's definition of tragedy. The main purpose of tragedy is to bring about catharsis. This term is really important, and you are going to be asked to write short notes or sometimes a long answer on catharsis. So it's very necessary to understand this term. So catharsis is the purgation of emotions. That is the release of emotions. What happens when you watch a tragedy or a tragic drama is that tragedy causes the arousal of pity and fear in the audience. The release of these pent-up emotions have a soothing effect and the audience feel relieved and calmed. So we see that according to Aristotle, poetry is not all about imitation. It has a therapeutic effect on the audience as well. Now here we will talk about the difference between Plato and Aristotle's views on poetry. While Plato believed that arousal of such kind of intense emotions could make the people of Greece no less than emotional fools, Aristotle argued that the evocation of pity and fear have therapeutic effects on the audience. The release of such heightened emotions cleanses mind, body and soul, which is healthy and had a healing effect on the audience. Now we'll talk about the elements of tragedy. According to Aristotle, tragedy has six main elements. The first is plot, characters, argument, diction, music, and spectacle. Now we will look into each of these elements in detail. Aristotle's dramatic or literary theory consists of four principles. First is the act of imitation or mimesis. Like poetry is though is an act of imitation, but it is a process of creation. It's a natural healthy impulse. Next, Aristotle classified poetry into different genres like epic, tragedy, and comedy. While tragedy is of the highest status, comedy belongs to the lowest category. Then Aristotle divided tragedy into six main elements. And fourth is the purgation of emotions, the catharsis. Now we will look into each of the tragic element in detail. The first is myth or plot. Plot is nothing but arrangement of events in a story or drama. Plot is an organic whole. Plot has a beginning, middle and end. According to Aristotle, there are two kinds of plots, simple plots and complex plots. These two are differentiated on the basis of two concepts. First is parapecia, which is called sudden reversal of fortune, and the second one is anagnorisis, or recognition of a past event or self-discovery or recognition or discovery of another characters. So simple plots don't have parapecia, they don't have sudden reversal of fortune, neither they have anagnorisis. Now complex plots have both parapecia and anagnorisis. So this is the difference between two plots. The fourth point is that plot has pathos. Pathos means scene of suffering. The portrayal of death on stage, wounding, bodily agony, etc. etc. The second element of tragedy is ethos or character, which is a very important element. The first requirement for the main character is goodness. The second is manly valor. However, valor is not very appropriate in case of women, and Aristotle here went a little towards anti-feminist way, and he said that women that valor in women is inappropriate. Third is the main character should not take too long to decide. Here, I would like to mention about the character of Hamlet, where Hamlet procrastinated a lot and this resulted in his tragic downfall. We will talk about Hamartia later. So let's discuss the next point. The next point, the character should give appropriate reasons for making the choice. So the character should give reasons. I mean, what thinking was going on in his mind. It should come out, and the audience should know that what kind of thinking process resulted in choosing something or uh, going on one path or choosing a path. The next point is, despite being a good and courageous man, the fall of a tragic hero is inevitable. This is because the underlying flaw in the character. Aristotle called this flaw hamartia or tragic flaw. The we have a lot of examples where we can see tragic flaw. In Othello, the tragic flaw of Othello was jealousy. In case of King Lear, it is his credulousness. which causes his ultimate downfall. In case of Hamlet, it is his procrastination. In case of Dr. Faustus, it is Faustus' hunger for more knowledge and wisdom. So we all see that all kind of tragic heroes, they have one or the other kind of tragic flaw that would ultimately leads to their downfall, leads them to their downfall. The third element of tragedy is Dionia, or conflict, and the fourth element is diction. These are not very important elements, so we will discuss them together. The first is Diony or conflict. The insight tells us that goes on in the mind of a character and makes him choose one way or other is called argument or conflict or Dionia. While lexis or language or diction is not given much importance in Aristotle's Poetics, this was because there was often a total lack of natural conversation in ancient theatres. The dramatic discourse mainly consists of intonation, pitch variation, and songs. So, lexis is not given much importance in Aristotle's Poetics. The fifth element of tragedy is music. Music was a very important aspect of Greek tragedy. Greek tragedy involves a chorus. The chorus often provides background details, poetic elements, and summaries of events. Sometimes the chorus serves as a type of moral judge over characters' actions and words. So we see that music is present mainly in the form of chorus. Visual spectacle. This is the sixth and the last element of Aristotle tragedy. The first point is all Greek plays started with a prologue where a character is spoken by a single actor or sometimes by two actors. The prologue is spoken by a single actor or sometimes it's spoken by two actors. The prologue is followed by a chorus. The chorus was then followed by a dramatic act or episode in which the character spoke or sang or danced on the stage. At the end of the first act, the actor withdrew and chorus again came on the stage and sang a choral ode which consists mainly of song, dance, mime, flute player. And here one could see if in Greek plays the flute player also used to be seen playing and dancing on stage. Once the choral ode was over, the actors again came on stage and the same cycle was repeated for rest of the acts. So this was all about the six. So today we studied about Plato's ideas on poetry, Aristotle's views on poetry, the definition of tragedy, hamartia. We discussed we also discussed the six elements of Aristotelian tragedy, and I hope I have covered enough for classical criticism. In case you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. And in my next lecture, we will talk about romantic theory or romanticism. Till then, take care. Goodbye.